Okay, welcome listeners to another episode of Sales Intersection, the intersection of money and meaning, where my guests and I discuss how we derive meaning from sales and how we're contributing to the positive evolution of sales and business. We're on season 3, episode 8, if you can believe that. And I can't believe that. And today's guest is Jamie Pitchflex, always another prospecting call on deck, Neubeck, who is 2022's BDR of the year for Reprise, carrying only 1 year experience in tech sales, if you can believe that. Yes. So super excited to have her on the show. Not just saying that, I haven't been this excited for an episode in quite a while, and that is because my just intrinsic passion for the truth and reality. And I admit in the past I would get a high, an ego boost off getting a big name on the show for the sake of getting a big name on the show. Yeah. But really what I like to do is there's often a gap between what those keynote speakers, what these top 10 influencers of the century or Forbes ranked #1 people are preaching and advising, and what's actually going on the front lines in the trenches. So Jamie is you can't be more on the front lines unless you're on the enemy side. Yeah.
True.
So it's actually perfect. She's a perfect example of that. So Jamie, great to have you on the show, and welcome to Sales Intersection.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
And this is Jamie's first podcast.
It is.
You never forget your first.
No, you don't.
And so I'm gonna brag about that in the future when she gets even more famous, because she's just rising through the rooftop right now. So the theme of today's podcast is whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And because the quote reminds me of your spirit, and another quote from Maya Angelou, who said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And I feel like there's a lot of energy that, at least that I don't know you very well obviously, but a lot of energy that comes across in your posts, and it's infectious, and it hits you on this visceral level, and there's a real feeling that comes out of it. It evokes feeling, not thinking. It's not a pensive post, like they're not that they're dumb posts or anything, but they're pensive, but evoking a lot of feeling is what I get out of it. Yeah. So would you agree those two quotes kind of encapsulate?
Oh, absolutely. Especially, I really like the, you don't remember what people say, what they do, but you always remember how somebody made you feel. Yeah. And that is so true for, I'd imagine, everyone. And with my posts, I really am trying to just reach out to people that have been where I've been, going through what I'm going through, dealing with what most BDRs or SDRs are dealing with, and trying to just kind of reach out and get them to kind of feel not alone, because it's easy to feel alone.
Yeah. And that's fantastic. And I think increasingly all these buzzwords that kind of make me sick, like personal brand and whatever your brand, and it's just you, right? Is increasingly becoming more authentic, and genuine, and the more of that you show, the better you're going to do. And I think you do a great job of doing that. So I think that's probably a big part of your success. So I'm going to split this podcast into 2 segments, just so my audience knows. One is going to first delve in to dig into Jamie's personal life, path to Reprise, some general questions about her life, and then of course, you know, her success. And the reason why a big reason why I reached out was not only her posts, but her her massive success in such a short time. So I'm going to get more tactical and talk about her process for prospecting and lead generation, and that'll be the second half. So Jamie, I read your LinkedIn, many clerical roles, and then you begin your sales career, and it said you found your sales career. So what does that mean? You're sitting in your desk in the clerical role and you found your sales career. Did you have like an aha moment, like I need to get out of here, or did someone say why don't you try out sales? Like
Well,
what's the first chapter in this book?
I was actually in college for psychology, and I had like 21 credits to go, 3.99 GPA. I had totally just given it all. And in that time, I had done some internships at different rehabilitation centers and mentoring. And it hit me as I'm sitting here wrapping this college degree up that it was not the sadness of it and the hardship of watching people struggle every day was really hard, harder than I thought it would be. And unfortunately, successes are few in the substance abuse area. So I was just having a really hard time grasping that. And my son, actually, who is 20 years younger than me, but he actually was in sales. And I was watching him and his excitement, and just it was infectious. Like he'd come home and he'd make this big deal, and I'm watching him just light up when he's making these sales, and I'm getting excited. And it kind of was like, like there's no reason in the world why I should try it, like why not? And I was about 40 then, so shifting gears was not, in the cards per se that I thought. But
Yeah.
I right then decided I stopped the college, put that on pause, which now I don't believe I'll go back, but at the time I thought I'll put it on pause and give it a try. I went and started sales at a moving company, and did that for 4 years. But that was a family owned and operated business. All the management was family. There was nowhere to go but in the seat that I was in. There was nowhere to go, no up. So I started looking around for other genre of sales, like what else can I do? And I came across tech sales, and I actually started looking into it, and it seemed like something really up my alley. Writing emails, making calls, just basically building relationships to book meetings for the account executives. And I could totally see myself doing that. So that's how I actually kind of jumped into it. I actually went to a boot camp, a tech sale boot camp to do so. And I finished that up early last year. And Reprise, I started there May 17th of
So
last year.
the boot camp would kind of like not, or maybe promise you kind of that they land you somewhere.
They just basically, they don't land you somewhere. They just kind of show you the way to interview or apply, or little different hacks that you can do with resumes and so on and so forth.
A lot of
But
guidance, yeah.
you do your own type of, outreach to find the job.
So how did you do that? How were you successful at moving, going from no tech sales experience and to getting the interview,
Yeah.
to I don't know, acing the interview. You pronounce the company name wrong, but I mean, maybe it goes back to the quote, the way you made them feel.
Yeah. Honestly, I set up my outreach to get a job just like I would be expected to be in the role. So I literally went, figured out what companies I wanted to apply to, applied, and then I reached out to a manager, and then I reached out to somebody that was in the role that I applied for, and I put them in a sequence, and I emailed and called and emailed and called and sent them LinkedIn messages just like I would a prospect. Researched each person that I was reaching out to, personalized the messages. I literally just made my outreach exactly like I would be expected to do as a SDR or BDR. And I literally in that way received interviews. And after I got a couple offers and I decided Reprise was where I wanted to land. And that's where I've been ever since.
That's great. And obviously a huge success. Reprise 2022 BDR of the year. Were you surprised?
I mean, I was surprised. I knew I had been doing good. I didn't even know there was going to be a BDR of the year. So we were just in the meeting and we had all voted on like mock elections, almost like you do in high school, like most spirited, most this, most that. And we had all put in our input for that, but I had no idea that there was even going to be a BDR of the year. And so when she flew up the slide with, my picture and like my stats or whatnot you want to call it for the year, I was shocked that there even was a BDR for the year. So
Sure.
it was great.
So tell me about that, because it's probably mostly performance metrics driven, and I imagine in 1 year you got to account for. I mean, those metrics would be compromised by ramp. So were you able to make up those metrics that you would lose in ramp time when you're not
I
actually doing
started in May, and then I don't think I had a quota until July. And then from July to December, I think that it's at 82 meetings and 144,000 in like revenue or whatnot. And yeah, I don't know. From the time I started, I just hit the ground running. I really just wanted to break through the masses, through the noise, and be heard, I
So
guess.
you were just kind of like, screw it. I'm just gonna go for it. Like I might be completely
Yeah.
off, but I'm gonna get at bats and I'm gonna learn,
Yeah.
and but I'm gonna be comfortable. Were you comfortable? Like on the, I guess it was COVID, so you're at home, right?
Yeah, well, it's a remote company, period. It's
Okay.
never been anything but, and I don't believe it ever will be. We've been told we never have to ever. We do WeWorks in different cities, but we don't have a brick and mortar. So yes, we're just a completely remote company.
So those first calls, were you scared, nervous? Were you?
Yes. Yes, that was probably honestly legitimately the hardest part for me, and probably I will admit still is the hardest part for me is the calls. um I think it's about excuse me, it's about, you get scripts or whatnot in every job. They're going to give you, every BDR SDR, they're going to give you a script or something to follow, and I think it's about tailoring that to sound like you.
Yeah.
Good example, like I wasn't really thinking yesterday. Somebody I had called probably 20 people, no one answered, and someone picked up, and it kind of took me by surprise. And I said, do you have would you happen to have a minute or something like that? And my husband, after I hung up, was like making fun of me because he's like, yeah, that doesn't even sound like you. Like, do you have a minute, sir? Or so I didn't even say sir, but I was like, I know. I like got caught off guard. So it's literally, that's the hard part for me, is tailoring it to sound like me, but still be professional without being salesy, if you
Yeah.
will. Because I can't do salesy. That's just not.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. My
Yeah.
my theory is there's no such thing as a cold call. There's so much information out there, and there's ways to go about it where you can make it warm. Like, I don't always do this, but sometimes I'll start with an email, a hyper
Yeah.
personalized email.
Yeah.
And and one of my early mentors, Rob Schatzel, if you're listening, um uh, told me, Eric, it's you got to make it so it's not about why should you buy from me, but why should I sell to you?
Okay.
Um, and and by starting out the conversation by saying, I'm sorry, I'm taking your time, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting, you're
Right.
already making the playing field uneven. So I'll make it almost seem like it's a favor that I'm calling them.
Yeah.
And then I can you can reference the email, or there's a lot of different
Right.
things, right?
Yeah. I always send out an email first also.
Okay.
That makes it at least somewhat where I don't feel it's completely cold, you know?
Yeah, yeah, completely. And so yeah, and so tell me about that, because you said sequences. I use Apollo, and there's not really a way to send a sequence to, say, like 500 people
Right.
and tailor each one where I can
Okay.
hyper personalize it to, like, say, like, we have this mutual connection, or I know that you industry facts for you, or like, I saw you posted that blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
So
What's your kind of like secret sauce for personalization? What do you?
what we do is the first email that goes out before first outreach period is personalized. And the way that that is done, you can put people in sequences. And then when you go to do your tasks, that first email, you just make sure it's not automatic, because automatic emails, you'll never see them. They just go, you don't even ever, they're never on your radar really, except for they just pop up in your sent box. But the first email, especially, it's vital that it's personalized. So
So you
that
have
is
your list. You have your list
I
in
have
the
a list
sequence,
of
and then
names,
you go down the list and you
and
personalize
that
each one.
pops up and it shows me that first email. And there is sometimes a template, sometimes not. Sometimes you just wing it from scratch, or you have different templates that you may use. But always that opening paragraph or two is something that is based on them, their company, something about them personally that is relevant to why I'm reaching out. Not, oh, I see you went to Boston University. Anyhow, sales leaders that I talk to, like,
Yeah, of
that's
course.
not, and a lot of people, I think, struggle with that. Like, well, how do I get those two together? And it's an art. It's a dance, definitely finding something that's also
And
relevant.
and specifically, do you find, like, mentioning a mutual connection, or their title, or something more about their company, or industry stat?
Um,
What components really
I
work?
like to look at posts that they've made, comments that they've made, stuff that interests them. Um, Especially if it has to do with anything, technologically based. If once in a while, all the stars align and they make a comment about a demo or something like that, that Reprise actually specializes in. But usually it's not that simple. So you have to kind of look in a timely manner, because you have to do this at scale. You have to do, I have X amount of emails, X amount of everything to do a day. So I have to look for something that's relevant that I can tie in within no less than 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
I have to look on their LinkedIn page. Sometimes I Google their names, stuff like that.
Yeah, if they've been on a podcast or
Right.
article.
Podcasts. I read the transcript real quick of a podcast and try
Yeah.
to figure out something that's relevant that
Do
they've
you
said.
guys do you guys use ABM?
No.
Account-based marketing. That's like where you can actually see if a company has visited your website,
Oh,
or
I'm sure that we do have that. we do have those types of stats. I don't look at those kind of stats. I'm sure somebody way
Yeah,
higher up than me does.
I see.
But yeah, we know I know we can track different visitors and different things that happen on our website. Yeah.
Because generally speaking, only 3% of the population is actually in the market for your product,
Yeah.
and 97% are not.
Yeah.
And so how it's for, so there's two questions I often, I'm often trying to find the best answer to is how do I identify those 3% that are in the market, and how do I go about um, uh, either converting the 97% to an evaluation stage, or they're not going to convert. I mean, if it's some jeans or a candy bar or something, you can convert them pretty quick. I mean,
Yeah.
like I could be turned on to a candy bar in
Right.
a couple seconds, right? And
Absolutely.
I wasn't in the market, 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about an enterprise software, there's bureaucracy, and you have to navigate the organizational hurdles that come
Absolutely.
along with that, and someone has, 4 people have to sign off, so you can't just convert them to. So how do you go about identifying, basically, prioritizing your prospecting list, where it's like this company probably makes most sense to go after first because they are most likely to have the problem, or that fits our solution. How do you, what sources do you use? How do you
Right.
go about prioritizing
Okay.
that list?
So first of all, we all have our account executives, and they tier. What happens is they each have a list of companies, qualified companies they are given. Then they tier them, tier 1, 2, or 3, depending upon what the need that they see that they've researched. And then we as BDRs do our research to kind of prioritize, because it's a list of 200, so I got to prioritize which ones do I want to reach out today, what are most emergent. And that's another challenge is Gardner is actually looking to name our new emerging category, because we are a new emerging category. Product tours on the website and whatnot, companies are just now starting to see different, like Pendo, Zoom Info, Outreach. They're all starting to, some of our customers, they're starting to see the value in, oh my gosh, people can go on my website and actually self-qualify themselves, walk through what looks and feels like the actual platform without talking to sales at all. And then they start talking to sales. So from a marketing perspective, that's one of the use cases. So if I go on a website and I see anywhere on that website that it's a software company that says request a demo anywhere on there, then I know they do demos. So therefore, I know that now some different, like medical, some different.
You mean on your website, if that you see
like
a company?
Anybody's website, any tech company's website says request a demo on there, I know that they give demos.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then that's what we do. We are a demo creation platform, but it's interactive demos and product tours. So it's something that nobody actually, we're the first that actually emerged in this category. Now we have tons of competitors, but we were the first, and Gardner's trying to name us. So we have that challenge to overcome too, because it's not a technology that everybody knows about. People are starting to catch on to it, but a lot of people, you really can't translate in words what exactly this would look like or what it could do for them.
It really, to me, it speaks to the buyer's journey, which has become progressively more dark. And when I say that, I mean that the buyer goes further and further along in their evaluation without engaging with the salesperson.
Exactly.
And it's I'm not sure the current statistic, but it's between 57 and 70% that of the journey they go without engaging a salesperson. Right. And so there's various technologies out there that allow you to intercept earlier or intercept at the right time. But generally speaking, there's been just an explosion of sales intelligence, if I may say, which is just a general term that means nothing anymore. Sales intelligence tools that will equip you to say the right thing to the right person at the right time and be aligned with where they are in the journey, right?
Right.
So people don't want to engage with the salesperson if they're not going to help them evaluate, and they don't want someone to jump in and ask a question that they already got answered at when they're at 15% of the buyer's journey.
Right.
So if by knowing and straighten me if I'm wrong, by knowing all this information you can see on the site, then that allows your salespeople to be more aligned with where they are in the buyer's journey and more relevant. And
absolutely. Because I mean, me as a buyer, if I forget me as a tech sales, forget just me as Jamie the mom, if I can go on a website, not have to talk to anybody in sales, and actually play around with the product and say, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for, or no, this is not at all what I'm looking for, let me move on, or yes, this is what I want, let me talk to sales now, because now I know I want what you got, because now I've sat here and went through your platform a little bit. That's perfect. Like now I don't have to talk to sales at all. And it also works for the salespeople, because now there's no more unqualified people that you're wasting your time with. So
you just, in my opinion, you have to be even more strategic, because even though you're dealing with less of the buyer's journey, you have to be spot on and more crafty. So I want to transition to a more personal part of the episode.
Okay.
You've been very brave and courageous in your transparency and authenticity on LinkedIn with your posts. In particular, I wanted to get into the substance abuse component, and it's very stigmatized. I'd say even more than mental illness in sales and open conversations. Yet I would bet it's more prevalent in sales than most professions.
I would say so, yeah.
And whether we're talking about Adderall, whether we're talking about
drinking, whatever.
Drinking, or a number of other ones.
Exactly.
So can you give me a sense of how you fell into the dark rabbit hole of substance abuse?
Absolutely.
Why, how long it lasted, and how you finally got out?
Okay, so I was a good girl in high school. I probably did what everybody else did, tried a little marijuana, drank at a party here and there. But I mean, for the most part, I graduated with honors, was looking at colleges, and I met a new group of people that I started hanging out with, who one subsequently became my oldest son's father. And they were into, not at the moment that I met them, but they were more advanced in their usage of, they didn't just experiment. So they had been into harder drugs. And so I started, like seeing them do that. And so that kind of made it acceptable to be around, let's say.
Sure.
And then I got in a car accident and I was prescribed opiates.
Okay.
And of course, that was, it never even crossed anybody's mind that I wouldn't take them, not even my parents, because I was injured. Why wouldn't I? And the doctor said so. And doctors know everything, right? So they, you do it. And I got done after probably 3 weeks or a month of getting those prescriptions, and I quit taking them. And all of a sudden it was, and the word sick doesn't really fit. It's just the only word that is close. When you go through an opiate withdrawal, it is unexplainable. Like literally you hear about like your skin's crawling and your bones feel like they're going to pop out of it. It literally feels like you're dying, or you wish you would. Like it's that bad. It's nowhere near sick. Like I'd take the flu for a year than that for a day. It's just horrific. So I had to keep buying pills. That's the only thing I could think to do, or say I'm still hurting, and my mom would take me to doctors and I'm only 18, 19 years old by now.
Yeah.
By the time I was 22, I was just a full-blown addicted to opiates, and I found cheaper, easier opiates to get my hands on. And that went on and off for 15 years. I went to 11 rehabs. I overdosed 5 times. 2 times I literally was gone for over 5 minutes. One time the EMT literally was pronouncing me, and they tried a shot of adrenaline and it brought me back. So, I mean, I went through some very, very, very dark times. My parents, of course, they did the tough love route. My sister happens to be a mental health and substance abuse psychologist. So she was kind of directing them on what would be healthiest for them, and me, really, that they shouldn't enable and whatnot. And it finally just, it took a long-term 6-month rehab that finally just, I don't know, it was the time, because usually you go to rehab, it's 14 to 21 days if you're lucky, if the state, go through the state.
Like
Most
inpatient?
people, pardon?
Inpatient?
Yes, inpatient. Most people don't have 40, 80, $100,000 to go to rehab.
Yeah.
My parents paid for that once or twice, but then I started going through the state, and it was, even when my parents paid for it, it was 28 days. So, I mean, it's not long enough. You don't even have your head together in 28 days when you're set back out to just go. You don't know what you're doing. You're just not clear enough. So after 6 months, I finally had time to actually get my head squared away and get my head on. And now I have been clean. January 26th was 11 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was not easy. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done by far. But now that I'm so far out, and like I said, I did stop going to college, but I still mentor people. I'm a certified recovery coach. I still go to rehabs and talk, and all that stuff.
Based on what you said about the sickness and that you'd rather have the flu for a year, would you say it's easy to identify the hardest part of that as maybe the detox is when you went?
It definitely, hands down, is the hardest part, and that's why most opiate addicts will not get out of it today. Like, otherwise I would have walked away probably a long time ago. And then you can say, well, there was times you were detoxed and you went back. But of course that goes back to the whole addict thinking of, I'll just do it this time. I got my life together now. Because there was so many times I got my life together, job, house, everything back in order. And I thought, I'll just take a couple pills tonight. I just stressed out. I'm just going to take a couple tonight, and I'll resume this good life I have tomorrow. And it just doesn't work that way. It might work that way for that night, but then then I'll do it Tuesday, and then I'll do it Thursday. And then pretty soon it's back to every day. It's just the way it goes. You can't dabble.
You're somewhat fortunate that you're not in the age of the fentanyl laced
I just missed it
zone, right? So what was it that kind of turned the corner for you? I mean, where it finally was enough?
It had been enough for a while, to be honest, but what kept pulling me back was I had a child. I had my children. And my one child I had when I was 19 years old, he actually went through, I signed him over guardianship to my mother when he was 4. And then I got him back in my custody when he was 14. So, I mean, it was back and forth, and he was what always brought me back, kept me fighting, because, I mean, if you're going to put drugs in your body, you don't care about yourself at that moment. You just don't. If you're going to do stuff that's going to harm you, potentially kill you, you really don't care about yourself enough to quit. and you can't quit for somebody. I couldn't quit for just him. I had to get to a point, because I tried that. All those other times I tried to quit for just him. And I finally got to a point where I was sick of it. I wanted to live. I wanted a good life. I knew I deserved better. So, and even though I didn't walk into that rehab loving myself or thinking I deserved it, I knew deep down I did. I just had to get to the point where I actually believed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine it's empowering to know that nothing's controlling you. Right.
It's so freeing. It's insane. And that life seems so far removed from who I
Yeah.
am now, that it's almost like I think about like her as a separate, she
Yeah.
made decisions I would never make,
But
like.
it's got to probably contribute to your success today. I mean, that must have been such a hard time that that a cold call seems probably
Yeah, exactly.
so much easier than detox.
Every other mountain seems pretty small in comparison.
Yeah.
So, and I do remind myself of that when you get caught up in the day-to-day stresses or anything. I literally can sit there and say, okay, where were you sitting 15 years ago? And it's almost laughable. Like, just shut up. Who cares about bills or any of that? I have bills. I have a house. I have a car. I have everything.
Without your health, it means nothing,
No, exactly.
So,
yeah.
So let's talk a little lighter.
Okay.
Little lighter note. On and given the strength that it gave you, and what you're doing as a salesperson, walk me through. And as a parent, you got a lot going on. Walk me through a day in the life of Jamie Neubeck.
Oh Lord. So I wake up ungodly early. I don't know why, but like 4 o'clock is when I usually wake up, and that just, that's when I obsessively go to LinkedIn and just start scrolling through, just kind of check things out. And then by the time, I get up, make sure, got a 15-year-old. So basically it feels like I'm in the 9th grade again, helping him with his homework in the morning if he didn't do it the night before, getting that done, wrapped up, and then shifting into the mode of BDR, getting all that, trying to get my metrics done for the day, make sure I'm doing everything I need to be done here, do my meetings, whatnot, see if anybody else needs help with anything. We're a really tight team. We all help each other a lot. So just check in on people checking in on me. And then it's about dinner and more homework. And, if my older child, who's 25, but he's still my child, if he has something going on or needs to talk or needs help, then you help him. If the 15-year-old needs help, you help him. Husband's a truck driver. He works anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day. So just making sure everybody is fed, everybody survives, everyone has clean clothes, everything's clean, the dogs are walked. It's a juggling act, but it's awesome.
Do you have any time during the day where you can take a walk or have any Jamie time?
I do walk the dogs a couple times a day, but that's more stressful than not, because they try to attack cars. So honestly, on the weekends is when I really try, and I make a real effort to unplug. Sunday night, I'll do homework or whatnot with my other child, or Friday night if he wants to get it done earlier. But other than that, honestly, weekends are for literally just watching Netflix, chilling out, going and meeting with family, going out to eat, doing things that I like to do. To kind of unwind.
So you do kind of separate work and life, like you take your time off on the weekends.
I do. And then at nighttime, when everything winds down, 7, 8 o'clock, I take those couple hours, before bed to just plug into a show that I like to watch, or read a book, do whatever I want to do. That kind of just helps me.
So do you have during the day, are you pretty militant about like time blocks in your calendar, like um,
Yeah.
uh, uh, prospecting 8 to 10, and
Yeah.
then 10 to
I've been
11?
playing with the time blocks to try to figure out, like, everybody always wants to know the most successful time to call people, when you can get the most people on the line. I have yet to find the golden hour where everybody picks up the phone, but I doubt there is one. But
Little
I'm,
little secret I just read the other day.
yeah,
Sundays 6 to 8 p.m.
I
Uh,
have heard that.
yeah,
I have heard that. And we have our sequences are set for emails to go out at that time.
yeah, mine
Um,
too.
because that is like an optimal time apparently for everybody to kind of get their week together. So yeah, I have heard that. I have yet to try it, but yeah, time blocks, prospecting, of course, the meetings you have to put time, but prospecting, cold calling, and then my tasks like emails. Those are the main 3 blocks. And my company's really good about, like, Thursdays, we have an hour where the whole company can work out if you want during the
Oh,
workday. Tuesdays is an hour of meditation if you want during the workday.
oh,
So they do try to, and they definitely are always like, did you take a lunch today? Like, yeah.
yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah, I
good.
did.
Yeah, and
Sure I did.
you had maybe something by your desk, like
Yeah,
yogurt,
exactly. Like
yogurt or
I'm
something.
horrible at lunches. I will admit, I'm very bad. I'm just
You're like,
works
I
with
had
one
cream in my
hand, the
coffee.
other.
So how many calls would you say you make a day or a week?
Um, we actually started calling in October. We were actually just doing like the social selling type thing before then, and then we kind of switched gears to cold calling in October. So they're kind of like, and we're hiring. Like, there was 6 of us 2 months ago. Now there's 12 of us. So they hired a bunch of new people. So people are in different stages of onboarding and whatnot. But I definitely make at least 50, shoot for 100, usually end up somewhere in the middle of that.
For a
So
day?
yeah,
Wow,
but
that's
definitely 50 at a minimum.
50 calls.
Minimum. Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. And when you say social selling, give me a sense of your kind of social selling strategy.
Email. Thus far, I have found the most success with emailing. And LinkedIn, some. I've actually booked a couple meetings, or at least one I know of, on Slack actually it was with Sales Rebellion.
Oh,
I
okay.
think you said you talked to Dale. Yeah, on that Slack channel, I actually booked a meeting there, a couple on LinkedIn, but my bulk is email. And the way that I decided to try to break through the masses was I decided to write poems about,
Oh,
I have a poem about Reprise. I have a poem about if you start a new position, or if you got funding, or if you ghosted a meeting, or if you're not listening to me. I wrote a poem kind of about all of it. So different poems.
what's the subject line? Poem inside?
Usually ode to name.
Oh, that's pretty good. Must have a good open rate.
It does, and I found a lot of people, like, it's different, so they read it and then they're like, holy
How
crap,
long
this
does it take you to
actually is.
craft a poem each for?
Honestly, it probably took me 20 minutes to a half hour for each one, and then I switch them around. As like, I have one for a business development leader, but I haven't done personas ones yet, just that one. But I have them all like on a page. I just keep a running page of them. And then if something I see like fits the mold, I just go grab it and personalize it somewhat with the company name and different. There's a couple different indicators I need to change around, but for the most part, it's worked.
And that's how by far the biggest conversion rate.
For me, yeah, thus far. Now we just shifted to sequences that we had created. and we're working real big on personalization, and we literally just shifted to that. So I'm seeing how that is going to play out versus the poems. And sometimes I'm also doing the poems like just one-offs. If I see somebody showing interest, opening my emails or whatnot, then I'll send them a poem instead of it being the initial outreach. So I'm just trying to play around with different methods. And that's what I think it's what it's about. You're playing around with different methods, different means.
Any video, email?
Yep, we do videos. We actually, our director actually came from Bomb Bomb. So she's huge on video, Devin. Okay. And so we do a lot of videos. It's actually part of all of our sequences. And then it's always good for, I find, when there's not just initial outreach, but either sending them on LinkedIn videos, or if I see somebody showing interest of any kind, opening my emails or whatnot, then that's an appropriate time, I think, to send a video, because then they kind of, obviously, if they've opened your email 9 times or something like that, maybe you're fresh in their mind and you can get them to view the video. And
you got the LinkedIn voicemail going, right?
Yeah, definitely. I use that too. I use everything available to me. That's the thing. You just got to keep, I don't stick to one thing, even though, like, yes, I gravitate towards emails, but I make myself do it all, because that's the only way I'm going to be successful.
So I'll winding down. This has been a great podcast. So it's one of the longer ones, but I'm going to have to cut it off, because it's rare people give you an hour and a half to listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
So what would your manager say is your strongest trait or traits?
I would say Tony, he would say, he just says my work ethic. He always says I have the hardest work ethic of anyone he's ever met. That's what he said, like in my BDR, like when I was BDR of the year, that was his little quote. Jamie has the strongest work. I don't know. It's not that I work 12 hours a day or that I'm working weekends. It's just during work time, I just give up. I just go like 110%.
You're just focused. Yeah.
Leave it all there.
You're not on Instagram, Facebook, or
no.
Yeah.
No, I try not to even have my phone anywhere near me.
What are you most proud of in your life, not just professionally?
I would say my kids, being a mom.
That's good.
I'm pretty cool mom. Pretty good mom.
I had Andy Paul on, and I said, what's the most important thing you can do to be a great salesperson? And he said, have good parents. Basically just saying, be a good person.
Yeah, definitely. Like, they're definitely by far, I mean, being a good mom to them is definitely by far my biggest accomplishment.
How are you going about self-development? I mean, do you put a lot of weight into, or prioritize like reading sales books, listening to sales podcasts? I mean, obviously you're in Sales Rebellion, but so small sales communities,
right? I try to interact like Rev Woman Roundtable or Thursday Night Sales. I try to show up for as many podcasts, stuff like that I can fit into my schedule. And I also listen to recorded different podcasts that have subject that applies to me, like prospecting, cold calling.
So for prospecting, what do you think are what book comes to mind, and what podcast?
That's podcast. I always listen to Gabrielle Blackwell. I always watch her videos. Anything that she resonates with me. She's just real. She tells you she's real, she's raw, and she knows what she's talking about. You can just tell. Yeah. So I always listen to her. Thursday Night Sales is a great one. The Other Side of Sales.
You're going to be on. I know you're going to be on that.
Yeah, that's Monday. I'm excited about that. And then as far as books go, I haven't read them yet. I just got one the other day by Jed. Is that his name?
Jed Blount.
Yep.
Fanatical Press.
That's it. Yep. I just got that like literally last week, and I have it sitting on my bedside table, and I believe that is my weekend. That's what I want to do, is read that at least one day.
It's a game changer. You'll get a lot.
That's what I've heard. So that's why I'm all in on it.
So last question. 10-year-old Jamie Neubeck, if I were to ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up, what would you have said?
I would have said a nurse, like my mom, but then she took me to work and I saw blood and I fainted, and that ended that.
That ended that.
That ended that. Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Jamie, having you on the show.
Thank you.
I on my prep sheets here, I still have tons of questions, but we ran out of time. I'm glad, I'm honored that I was your first podcast, but very deserving. You've been just absolutely slaughtering it for a year, and I know I have confidence that it's only going to continue. And I'll have to have you back when you get to that next chapter. Definitely. Anything you want to plug, say, or?
Honestly, just as far as BDRs, SDRs go, just help each other. If I can help anyone, let me know. And honestly, if we all help each other, we can level up so much quicker. And of course, if you need a demo, Reprise.
Yeah.
Product tour, demo, Reprise.
Got it. Okay, well, listeners, I hope you enjoyed this one, and you can find all my podcasts at salesintersection.com. Actually, if you just Google Sales Intersection, the whole front page is mine. It's all Sales Intersection. And go to YouTube and search Sales Intersection if you want to actually see the videos where instead of just listening. And this will be up in a couple weeks, and can't wait to edit it and have that aired. So Jamie, thanks again for the time.
Thank you for having me.
Get back to
I will
earning 2023 BDR.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get on that right now.
Okay. All right. Enjoy your day.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.